So there are different methods to wake up, different systems, different philosophies, different religions, different scaffoldings that all lead to the same place if you use them properly. How do you know that they're pointing toward reality? You realize it within yourself by degrees. Waking up means that you realize the truth within yourself. And no one else can give it to you. No one else can validate it for you. If you need someone else to validate it, it's probably not real. When I woke up, it was obvious. I wasn't sure what it was because it's so utterly different from what we're taught and how we live that it was obvious. It's still obvious. When I try to describe it, like I become aware of it, it's a sense of deepening the awareness. Like when I'm doing these talks, I'm engaging the mind in a certain way on purpose, the language producing mind. I'm engaged with that. I'm producing words. There is a sense of a person producing words using language. So that's the mind. I'm also aware that the substance of it is consciousness itself at the same time. And that's who I am or who we are, what reality is already. Now, that's what it is. And yet there can be a deepening of that realization. In a similar way, I've talked about this where I don't have my Swiss Army knife with me, but we can use the knife, use the tools. Like I'm using language. It's like using the scissors or the Swiss Army knife I have actually has a little magnifying glass on it. It has blades. It has all kind of things. It has pliers. So you can use the tool or tools and then close it, put it up, and set it down, and then just be at peace. When I'm talking like this, I'm using my mind to do it. And when I try to describe reality itself using that particular tool of language, it gets to a certain point and then stops. It's like no further because it can't be described. Sometimes I'm at the fringes of that, trying to describe this ineffable reality with words. That's just how it is. So it's good to talk about pointers, signs that point the way. It could be books, some kind of language, some kind of teaching that points the way toward this ineffable reality that we are. And yet the nature of that reality is such that it's possible to deepen it to a point, and I'm talking about it right now as I'm doing it. It deepens it at some point. It wouldn't be a very good video if I just stopped talking. I don't think. But that depth of peace is incredibly satisfying. So I'm kind of, in a sense, rising up out of it just enough to be able to point back and tell you about it. And that requires a certain skill that is challenging and has taken me a while to develop. But the word is not the thing. So the language that I'm using is just something that you use. Just use it and move forward. It's pointing. As spiritual students on this path, we're confronted by this smorgasbord of ideas, books, teachings. There's a lot to choose from. There could be a danger, and is a danger in using the wrong teaching. Like having a bad set of instructions. Like you're trying to assemble your IKEA furniture and it was written by a maniac who didn't know how to do anything. And you can't build anything that way. It just doesn't work. You could pretend that it does, lie to yourself and say it's great. It's not. That's just how it is. But how do you know? How do you know which teachings are valid? It's an internal recognition. And you have to validate it for yourself. I would say, as far as the mind goes and language, it should be logically consistent. You should be able to prove it to yourself logically. It helps to understand logic, I think. I was fortunate enough to be able to study symbolic logic when I went to university. It's an excellent tool, and we're not taught that generally. I've mentioned this before, but the teacher, Franklin Merrell-Wolff, said that there's two ways traditionally that we know things: through sense experience and through what he called conceptual cognition, thinking. So if I have a pen, I have a sensation of it, I can see it, I can touch it, I can take the cap off, smell it. It's a sense experience, and that's a way to know what this is, in a sense. Plus, conceptual cognition, I can categorize it mentally and know that it's a pen. I can write with it. I can test that. It looks like a pen, writes like a pen, it's a pen. Nothing wrong with that. But he posited a third mode of knowing that he called introception. He created the word because there wasn't a word for it in the English language yet. Introception means recognizing the truth because you are the truth. So he called it knowledge through identity. So the I am knows itself because it is itself. It's similar to seeing. How do we know that we're seeing? Because we're seeing. It's not the seer, and it's not the seen, it's the seeing. It's invisible. Sight shows you what's there, but just like a clear lens, there's no obstruction. It's just clarity. What is clarity? You can talk about the things that appear clearly, but what is the clarity itself? The best lens we could possibly have on a microscope or a telescope is one that is, in a sense, utterly empty of itself. All it's doing is showing you something else very clearly. So it's not adding anything and it's not taking anything away. It's just revealing what's there. Awareness is like that. When you're aware of something, it's easy to miss awareness itself because it's showing you objects. It's showing you your mind, for example, that appears as objects. And yet awareness itself is invisible, in a sense. It's empty. Like sight is invisible. It is vision. Vision isn't visible. If you try to see seeing, it'll drive you crazy. It is like the eye trying to see itself. So just forget about that and just see. The teacher Shunyata I mentioned before, he used the word aware as a verb. So we aware things. We aware the world. We aware ourselves. I like that usage. When we think of awareness, it sounds like a thing, but it's really more of a verb. You could look at it that way. I am aware. I am awaring. It's different. It's like this. We know what eating is, and it's like someone spread out a banquet table. The smorgasbord just means a vast variety of foods. But let's say 9 out of 10 of the food items, or even 99 out of 100, are made of plastic, or they're just pictures of food, like menu items that are images of something you could eat, but are not themselves something you could eat. That's how the mind is. The mind is, in a way, an image of something that's real. It's a reflection of it, but it's not reality itself. So if you went to a restaurant and just looked at pictures on the menu, that wouldn't satisfy you. Or if you looked at the pictures and then started licking the pictures, that wouldn't satisfy you. It's not nutrition. It might be fun, but it's not what we would call nutrition. The plastic is not nutrition. When you taste the actual food and eat the actual food that's nourishing, you'll know. But you have to get past your conditioned mind that believes that the fake food is real. There's something in us that recognizes what real food is. So when it comes to these teachings, the ones that are true are satisfying in a way that's sort of like eating. We just know it because it's nourishing. It's spiritually nourishing. And part of what helps is just being really honest. Get out of your wishful thinking mind. Like you might go see a teacher or read of one who you find out down the road is really just a charlatan trying to fool you. They can be very charming. Charlatans can be very charming, and they can seduce you into this egoic fantasy of value that's really just them trying to get something out of you, to fleece you in some way. It helps to be able to spot that, and it has a certain quality. It's very different from what I would call a true teacher who merely is that and teaches in a way that is nourishing, that's beyond the ideas, that's just the presence of truth itself in some way. The verbal part of the teaching is logically consistent. And I strive for that, for example. Like when I do this, when I'm talking, I want what I'm saying to make sense. It helps. The closer you get to the actuality of what I'm calling reality, it's like all the signs that point to Los Angeles. They all converge. And then at some point you drop the signs. And that gets a little weird. It's not weird, but it can feel that way because we're letting go of the mind and entering the cathedral or entering Los Angeles. We don't need signs anymore. We don't need the mind anymore. That's all the mind is just pointing. We don't need pointing. So, like what I just said, that metaphor or that analogy, that's logically consistent. You could sit with it, you could study it, and if it's convincing to you, you could just sort of meditate on that. And there's this depth of satisfaction where we recognize our own being, that the teaching points to it and we realize the actuality. It's not an experience. It's not a person who's experienced some object. It's awareness itself. That knowledge through identity, that recognition, that's another word that Franklin Merrell-Wolff uses, recognition. Oh, there's no word for that. The word cannot substitute for that. The idea cannot substitute for it, any more than plastic food or an image of food on a menu will satisfy you if you're hungry. But you taste it, you receive the nourishment, and you know on that level. It's not exactly felt because it's not a sense experience. Like I said, the two traditional modes of knowing are sense experience and thinking. It's neither of those. It's a fundamental recognition based on the I am awareness that we are. And it recognizes itself in a way, but it's not dualistic because it's this one essence that wakes up to itself, that starts to dawn. And it can sound paradoxical. The language does start to break down at some point. That's why Zen masters use koans, because they're trying to get you out of the conceptual mind and into the thing itself. I'm saying that awareness of thinking and awareness of sensation is awareness. The hallucination that there's something separate from awareness called sensation and thinking is a hallucination. Part of what I'm calling creation. But the basis of it is awareness. In a similar way that sunlight shows you what's there, but it's just sunlight. But look, there's this, there's that. It's all reflected sunlight. It's sunlight, reflected. So whether it's reflected in thinking or reflected in sensation, which is mind, you could just take the word mind. Let's step back from conceptual cognition, which is a certain kind of thing, and sensation, which is a certain kind of thing. Those are both conceptual, really. They're both mentally generated. So if the I am generates the appearance of a world, you could say no such thing ever happens, that it's like a mirage. There wasn't ever a lake, and everything's like that. So to say it's all sensation, I think, is a guideline. It's a scaffolding point. It means get out of your head and just feel what you feel. And that's not a bad guideline, but that doesn't mean that that somehow captures what it is or what it's like to be awake. Because I could say, I'll tell you exactly what being awake is like right now. It feels like sitting in a chair. Okay, I just directed my attention to the sensation of the chair against my ass right now, in my back. So yeah, that's what awakening is like. It's like sitting in a chair. As long as you understand it's a biased description based on what I'm experiencing, because I directed my attention to it. I could hold up a flower that's yellow and say it's like it's yellow, but that's just because that particular flower is yellow. And truth itself is utterly without attribute. So to say sensation is an attribute. So, but what is the experience of it like? The experience is being generated. If I'm generating the sensation of sitting in a chair, and I say, well, it's like sitting in a chair. So yeah, sensation, for example. That's just because that's what I'm doing right now. But it doesn't mean that that's what awakening is like. Franklin Merrell-Wolff, his highest realization, He called consciousness without a subject and without an object. Okay, what is that? As soon as you speak of it, it's not that. There was a section in the Yoga Vasistha I thought was brilliant, and I highlighted it. All this speculation concerning unity and diversity is only to overcome sorrow, which is saying it's a scaffolding. That is all that is. So the only question is it useful? It's not ultimately real. Logically, if we understand that reality itself cannot be described or captured in language or thought, if we hear a teaching in the form of language or thought, we first understand that that itself does not capture it, and yet at best does point toward it. So, yeah, all this speculation concerning unity and diversity is only to overcome sorrow. Here it is. This is the one I was looking for. It's good. I'm going to read it. Neither unity nor diversity can be truly established as the truth, for every thesis gives rise to antithesis. Every thesis gives rise to antithesis. As soon as you say something is, you've created what it isn't. Every concept has its opposite category. So if you say that awakening is just sensation, you're creating its opposite, the absence of sensation, and it's a duality. See, it's a guideline. There were two quotes there. One of them, it said, all this speculation about unity and diversity is for overcoming sorrow and for nothing else. That's a way of saying, look, this is a scaffolding. We're speculating about unity and diversity. It has nothing to do with reality itself. It has everything to do with the realization of it, which overcomes sorrow, as it's saying. And that as soon as you describe something, you're creating an antithesis to it. Is it unity? Is it duality? Some people are realists and some are idealists. And if you study philosophy, it's like a hall of mirrors and it'll drive you nuts because no one agrees on anything really, because there's always an opposite point of view to it, an alternate point of view. Like how many signs point to Los Angeles? It's infinite. Theoretically, the signs that can point to Los Angeles. There's only one Los Angeles. So the whole point is to use the signs that point there, that appeal to you and that, in a sense, appear to you, that are valid. The validity is discerned intuitively, really. You intuitively understand in a similar way that you would know real food from plastic food. You would taste it. It would nourish you. You get it. You may be surrounded by thousands of people who are talking about how great the plastic food is and how nourishing it is. Don't buy it. Don't believe it. They're lying because they're scared and they're just pretending that the fake food is real. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a form of delusion, but there's nothing wrong with it. People can be deluded if they want to be. It's brilliant. Sure, you can pretend that plastic food is nourishing you. It doesn't. It's not true. Real food nourishes. In a similar way, when you hear a true teaching, you recognize it in your depths. It's an inner, yes, it's a recognition of truth. Yes, this is real, this is true. And again, it's logically consistent. Even koans are logically consistent in a certain way. They're paradoxical. They're illogical on purpose. They have a certain structure that's meant to elicit a realization. So in that sense, they're logically consistent. I'm saying this about koans, and I kind of follow it down into stillness or emptiness, and I forget where I am and there aren't any words. There's no need for it. Like once you're in Los Angeles, you can drop the signs and you're still there. You're there. You are. This is it. The words aren't necessary. So that does happen sometimes for me. And yet the words come back. There's an entertainment of the existence of opposites and duality and people, and they're not real, but we live that. We, in a sense, create it. Like, oh yeah, it's the mind. Interesting. Because part of that question, like I'll say, oh, awareness. Oh yeah, awareness. It's a pretty common word, and we kind of think we know what it means. But awareness itself it's like we get lost in it. but it's actually being found. It's losing something that produces the realization of complete freshness. It's new every time, and there's no time. Just pure awareness. Oh, that sounds cool. What is that? You follow it. It's a sign. There's this great restaurant in Los Angeles. Oh, what is that? And you imagine a sign pointing restaurant to Los Angeles that way. Like, oh, cool. So it's a finger. So you sniff your finger. And you're like, it could smell like different things. Like, I don't know if I want to go to that restaurant. I don't believe you. That restaurant smells like my finger. I mean, maybe you were stirring potpourri with your finger just before you did that. And you're like, oh, wow, reality smells like potpourri. It's a potpourri restaurant. Follow it. It's just the words point, and you get to a wordless realization that is not anything that can be spoken, and it's not a sensation either. If someone says, oh, when you wake up, it's just sensation, I don't really go with that. It's not just anything. Even to say it's just awareness, I mean, in a sense it is, but are you aware? And then it's that. What is it? Well, let's point the way. But pointing the way means you follow and you arrive and realize, in a sense, you were already that. It's super interesting, the freshness of it. It's not novelty like there was something old and now there's something new. It's not old or new. There's no time. You cannot know who you are. You can only be who you are. And yet being is knowing. So the recognition of being is knowledge that reveals to you the truth of what I'm talking about and that all the signs point to. Even the wrong signs eventually point there. It just takes longer. That realization is something that you can verify for yourself. If someone hands you a plastic sandwich, you'll know. Or maybe you'll just pretend because everyone else is eating plastic sandwiches and pretending that they're tasty and nutritious. When you get the real thing, you'll know. It's nourishing, it's satisfying. There's no substitute for that.